squeak. We'll deck the halls with guests unique. Laugh, sing, and cheer with our furry crew. It's a jolly good time just for you.
Oh boy, that intro. Well, welcome to a very special holiday edition of the Pets Ad Life podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Levine, and I'm here with my always jolly co-host, the one and only Chris Bonifati. Hi, Chris.
I'm so excited. Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays. And all I want for Christmas is an incredible episode of Pets Ad Life. And lucky for me and everybody listening, we've got this awesome episode lined up full of song, dance, and holiday cheer to put you all into the spirit of the holidays.
Yes, and the good news is the song and dance will not be coming from Chris and I. We're actually going to be bringing you we're actually going to bring you the magic of Broadway and the wonder of dancing dogs right to your ears and eyes if you're watching the show with two really awesome guests.
Yeah, first we're going to hear from Bill Berloni, who is the dog trainer for Broadway. And you get to say that because you ask anybody in the industry and it's just him. We're talking Sandy from else. Annie. We're talking Toto from The Wizard of Oz. If you have seen a dog performing in New York, you have seen one of Bill's dogs.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him. And as if that isn't festive enough, we're also going to be joined by Roni Sagi. She's the international dog dancing sensation and America's Got Talent 2024 runner-up. So she's going to be with us, hopefully with her incredible Border Collie rhythm. She's been dazzling audiences with her performances that are just, they're really perfect for this holiday magic show.
They absolutely are. We were watching some of her videos, and all I have to say is Tiger and I, we don't got it like that. We do not. You don't want to see that. So luckily, like Kristen said, you don't have to deal with Chris and Tiger dancing, but maybe Roni can inspire us to add some rhythm to our holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to leave the dancing to rhythm for now, but there's plenty of holiday joy to go around. So grab your pets, get a warm cup of cocoa, and settle in for this festive episode.
And that's right. Whether you're trimming the tree, wrapping your presents, snuggling with your furry friend, drinking some cocoa, sharing stories or laughter, maybe a few happy tears, we are here for you. Happy holidays from the whole Pets Ad Life team.
Kristen and Chris present Storytime.
Okay, Chris, so I have a really heartwarming story for this show today. And as you might imagine. I think we've talked about this before. You've heard of Home for the Holidays. It's an adoption campaign that happens every year. This is actually the 25th year, and it started in 1999. It was created by the Helen Woodward Animal Center. And they have over the past 25 years, they have placed, 20 million pets since the beginning of this campaign.
That's a big number.
That is an incredible number.
Big number.
And I just thought I'd hop over to their website to see where they're at for this year. And there are 4,000 animal shelters across the U.S. that are participating in the Home for the Holidays campaign. And so far, they have found homes for 419,119 pets.
Wow.
So I think that's pretty awesome. And it goes all the way through the end of the year. And there's lots of ways you can get involved. Obviously, you can adopt a pet, which would be wonderful if you're able to do that. And if you do, they encourage you to share your story and your photos on social media with the hashtag #IChoseToRescue. You can also make donations to the Home for the Holidays event. And they, as you might imagine, they do get the vast majority of their dollars donated during this season. So if you can't adopt, you can donate. And of course, you can also volunteer for your local shelter. This is a busy time for shelters. Lots of people are adopting. So yeah, you can get involved in Home for the Holidays, whether you're ready to adopt or not. But just thought I'd start us off with some really great news. Almost 500,000 pets have been adopted.
That's amazing. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to piggyback the good news, but in a different lane. Okay. So a sustainable packaging company just ran a study in Europe about some pet parents' purchasing decisions. And what they found is that 69% of European pet owners say that the sustainability of the packaging is a key factor when selecting pet food. So 20% of owners reported purchasing healthier food for their cats. The same went for dogs, around the same number. But the lead driving factor is packaging, which is incredible because
Really?
I've always said that we're not going to find sustainability in the pet industry until it becomes a defining factor. And people vote with their dollars. And it seems like that's finally happening. I've noticed it here in the United States, the change in packaging in Tiger's dry food from that really thick, open it up with a pair of scissors kind of plastic to almost like the now cardboard, like compostable paper based thing. And while I'll say that wasn't necessarily the deciding factor, it is nice knowing that each bag I buy is going to be compostable. So sustainability is absolutely driving forward. In the United States, it's reported that 76% of pet owners consider whether their product is sustainable when choosing pet food. And consumers, generally speaking, are trusting claims about the recyclability and less plastic and less packaging. So, this is great work. I know the Pet Sustainability Coalition here in the United States is making a big push to have some of the larger brands consider sustainability. And those brands are going to get on board when they see some of this research about consumer habits. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to that bottom line in the pet industry for a lot of these folks.
That's true.
So some great uplifting news. And if you are out there and you're one of those people home for the holidays, you're adopting a new pet, I hope that sustainability crosses your mind when you're making those first decisions on what you're going to get that new animal hooked on.
Yeah, that's a great update, Chris. Thanks for that.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
We are beyond thrilled to welcome Bill Berloni, a legendary animal trainer, behaviorist, and Tony Award honoree. Now, Bill's journey began when he was just 20 years old, tasked with finding and training a dog to play Sandy in the original production of Annie. Now, what made this role revolutionary was that it required an animal actor to perform live, night after night, under the bright lights of Broadway, something that had never been done before. So since then, Bill has transformed the way that animals are featured in theater, television, and film, working exclusively with rescued animals and developing groundbreaking humane training techniques. Bill's career includes iconic productions from The Ferryman and Peter Pan Live to The Leftovers and Disney's Frenemies. And offstage, Bill is an advocate for animal welfare, providing a retirement home for his performing stars on his farm in Connecticut. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Oh, we are so honored to have you. And, we have so many questions, but let me just start off with this one. Looking back at that first opportunity you had to train a dog for Broadway, what were the biggest challenges facing you?
Outside of the fact that I didn't want to be a dog trainer.
Yeah, besides that.
I mean, as the story goes, I was working as an apprentice, building scenery in the theater, the Goodspeed Opera House, where Annie was originally done, and they couldn't afford a dog trainer, and everybody on the paid staff threatened to quit. So the producer needed someone he could trick into getting the dog. And the producer knew I wanted to be an actor, so he called me in his office and offered me a part in the show if I would find and train a dog for it. Which I readily agreed to at 19 years old. And he gave me $35 to buy the dog and train it for the show. And I went to the shelter and I found the original Sandy. But so it was, I didn't go into it with a plan. It was, what have I gotten myself into? And I just went back to my childhood. I'm an only child. I grew up on a farm. My companions were my dog, my cat, and my rabbit until I went to kindergarten. So I remember having a very fun childhood. So I must have learned how to play their games as opposed to insisting to play human games, because they were never unleashed. They were
Right.
never in cages or pens. I remember we have pictures of me in the front yard with these animals just hanging out. So I thought if I could create a situation where the animals, Sandy, thought the stage was his home and the actors were his family and this was fun, maybe he would stay there. And so those are the things I applied.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously got a natural knack for this, and it's not just dogs. You train all sorts of animals. So my question is, what is the most challenging animal you worked with, or maybe peculiar animal? And what are some of the approaches you take with animals who may not respond to training as naturally as a dog?
I look at I study what their natural instincts are, and then you meet the animal, because every animal, every human has a personality. And then I try to take what would please them and make them feel comfortable and turn that into the training program. But I would say cats are the most difficult. I mean, although they're domesticated, they don't want really a whole lot to do with things. So, whereas, birds and sheep and other farm animals are pretty food motivated and will do a lot of things for food.
Yeah. Well, Bill, one of my favorite parts of your story is that you've been a lifelong advocate for rescue animals, and many of your star performers came from shelters. So could you share maybe one of the most heartwarming success stories of an animal that you've rescued and trained for a role?
I mean, I've probably trained 250 to 300 dogs in my career who have been rescues.
Wow.
The most famous of which was the original Sandy. And, you never forget your first. But what was unique about him was that he's the longest running animal on Broadway. He did 2,333 performances of the show.
Wow.
Which meant that every night he showed up and wanted to have a good time. So to me, that's a kind of a testament to the fact he was happy at what we were doing. Those are my favorites. In the last 10 years, my wife and I have developed a new musical based on the book Because of Winn-Dixie. And we wanted to prove to the theater world that a dog could actually star in a show. And we've done 4 out-of-town tryouts. And the dog, his name is Bodie. He's a rescue. He's a big doodle. But he started in Winn-Dixie. He had 123 cues, and it took 4 trainers to execute it. But he also was in Peter Pan Live. He was the dog in a series called High Maintenance. He was recently on Bumpkus, the NBC show. He played Joe Pesci's dog. So he's had a great television career and is recognizable. And that's the thing is, when they're recognizable, I could say, well, you could have adopted him before I do. And it sort of drives that, there are wonderful animals waiting to be adopted, that point home.
So, Bill, you were talking a lot about building relationships, and clearly you have a keen mind for building relationships with these animals. And it being Christmas time, we have a lot of people listening who may be welcoming a new animal into their home. So my question to you is, do you have any advice for people who may be listening and thinking, wow, that sounds like a really awesome, holistic way to train and develop a relationship with an animal?
Actually, I worry sometimes when animals are presented as gifts, because animals are sentient beings. We don't marry someone because we see them and think they're cute and just get into that relationship. But people see dogs and they're puppies and they're cute and they go, oh, isn't that be great? And not take into consideration, is a puppy right for the family right now? Is the breed right for your lifestyle? Is, when it grows up, who's going to take care of it? Those are the questions that, if they're not answered correctly up front, are the reasons most animals end up in animal shelters. So, my hope would be that if you have decided to present an animal as a gift, you have talked to the giftee and you've really talked about what would be right for your family or for your situation, and then provided the animal that would work. because it's just like me. Some trainers may say you could train any animal to do anything. I disagree. I'm sure both of you are talented people, and I could teach you to tap dance. But if you don't have the personality to do it on stage, you're not going to do it. And it's the same with my animals. I find animals who have the right personality and temperament to be in front of crowds, to deal with a lot of people. So the Christmas idea of pets, again, I hope people have done their homework and it's a group decision and not just here, isn't this cute? Because a lot of those situations don't always work out.
Yeah, that's so true. Bill, I started out my career working for an animal shelter, and we used to ban holiday adoptions for that very reason. That those bans have been lifted, but you make an excellent point. I wanted to going back to your career, which spans decades and formats from Broadway to film to television. Have you seen the role of animals in entertainment evolve over the years, and where do you see it going in the future?
I do see change. In 1977, when Annie opened, there were only two dogs that were rescues that were working in entertainment, Sandy and Benji. And over the years now, I know that many, many trainers, many, many shows, people are certainly in my profession using more rescue animals. And I think the adoption rate has gone up because of that general idea that rescue animals are okay. The other thing is, obviously, we're actualizing as a society to be less cruel to animals. And certainly in my business, in the entertainment business, there's no laws protecting animals. There are no unions protecting animals. So it's up to the individual trainers to advocate for humane treatment on set. And while there's this great group called the American Humane Association who is on set monitoring, they don't have any law enforcement capability. They can't even turn behavior into the law because they've signed a non-disclosure agreement. So I'm feeling better that productions, trainers are becoming more open about how this process is done, because the more open we are about it, the more people don't have to worry about the welfare of animals in entertainment.
Yeah, and that is always going to be a peak concern is, how are these animals treated? So I'm just the curious mind that I am, in your mind, what's that look like? What's a day on set look like for a dog when everything is going well and they're being treated the way that they should be?
That's a great question, because, and this is the fight I've been fighting all my life. Animals in the entertainment industry are considered props. Props are inanimate objects that are handled by actors. So 9 calls out of 10, I get called by prop masters, the guys who provide those things, saying we need a dog to do this. And it's one thing to provide a prop. It's another thing to provide a performance, and I'm providing a performance. So when I ask them, well, what does the director want, or what do we expect, or what's the environment? They don't know. So unless you really are persistent and you have good relationships, sometimes you're walking into situations where the prop guy has said, yeah, the dog just has to stand on the street. You show up with a golden retriever and he forgets to tell you or doesn't know that there are guns going off and there's a gunfight, and so at that point, the animal trainer has to either step away and say, we can't do this, and say you're uninformed. So it's, but as I've gotten into the later part of my career, I'm able to not be hired by prop people. I'm hired by directors. I'm hired by producers, and I become part of the creative process because I'm providing an on-camera performance. So if I could deal with the people who are doing the on-camera performances, I can provide a trained animal. If I'm dealing with the people who build the sets, they don't ultimately have the artistic vision that is needed. And that's where my career, 33 Broadway shows. In a theater situation, everybody's in the same room, directors, producers, actors, and we all collaborate to the ultimate project. So I've been successful in theater, but the film industry, again, if you're not a union member, and I'll tell you a little story. I've just done season 3 of And Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City sequel. And one of the characters, Charlotte, has a dog and her name is Myrtle. She plays Richard Burton. We have done 9 out of 10 episodes on each season, and we're not invited to the wrap party. Why?
Wow.
Because we're not part of the crew. We're not a union member. So it's just sort of that sort of attitude and trying to, it's like, they're living things, guys. So if I need a dressing room that's quiet, dressing room, why do you need a dressing room for the dog? So that when it's not on camera, it can rest, it can be calm. You put that animal in a public place and it's, waiting for hours, and then you try to put it on set, it's going to be unraveled. The holding area has to be air conditioned or heated. Have to have air conditioning. Why? Because in July in Manhattan, while we're waiting to go on set, it's 100 degrees out. The animals could overheat. I mean, those sort of considerations are the ones that animal trainers in our industry on film and television have to ask for up front. And if I can tell you, if a production isn't willing to even provide the minimum, like what we're doing, where we're doing it, and a holding place that's quiet and cool, I don't take the job. You have to be able to know that it's better to protect the animal than to show up and have the animal harmed.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Thank goodness for people like you and the trainers that obviously are advocating for the animals, and hopefully things will change for the better. I wanted to ask you about your current projects, and also you have a book out called Broadway Tales. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Broadway Tales is a rescue book. It's an autobiography of all the Broadway shows I've done and the rescue stories connected with each one of them. It's when that edition you have up was the first edition, and there were 19 chapters. When I did another 6 Broadway shows, the publisher allowed me to write 6 more chapters. And the third edition has come out, and now there are 30 chapters again because they continue to rescue dogs for these projects. And again, it's a little bit of that backstage story. It all has a happy ending. The animals are rescued and they succeed, but it shows how people don't think of animals always in the right light, and the struggles that I have to go to succeed. There's a chapter where I walked out of a show the first night because they were treating the animals not well. And the producer called, fortunately the producer hadn't signed, they don't even get around to signing your contract. So the night I walked out and the producer threatened to sue me, I said, first off, we don't have a contract. And secondly, I could take this dispute to the press if you want, and we could try it in the court of public opinion, or we could say we're splitting because of artistic differences. So Broadway Tales, rescue stories, inside look at animals on Broadway and entertainment, and something I'm particularly proud of.
Yeah, and we mentioned it briefly at the top of the show, but you actually provide a bit of a retirement home for some of these rescues and animals that you work with. So my question is, how many animals do you have over there in Connecticut, and what's life like with so many furry pals running around?
Well, currently we own 30 dogs. And they all live in the house with us. And they're from dogs in training to the working guys who are paying the mortgage to the group who are older and retired. And when I say 30 dogs in my house, I imagine people thinking is this a hoarding situation? But actually in 2016, Discovery Channel came to me and asked if they could do a reality show about our lives. And I said yes immediately, because I had nothing to hide, and the way they live in our house is designed so that there are areas for all of them to live and coexist and be with us. And we're on 90 acres where they can bark and make all the noise they want and nobody's going to complain. So it's we call it a farm, but it's a house with a lot of dogs. And again, the show is called From Wags to Riches with Bill Berloni. So if you want to see the way we live, just look it up on Amazon Prime and you could watch it. So, but yeah, they're when you adopt an animal and you're an adoption advocate, you have to commit to them to give them a forever home. Adopting an animal, exploiting it for money, and then getting rid of it is just as bad as any other type of neglect in my eyes.
Sure.
So that's why every dog we adopt, we give a forever home to. And so, yeah, all of them end up here.
That's great. That's really great news. I had to mute myself because my dog was auditioning for you, Bill. I probably speak for Chris when I say that I will never watch another film, television series, or theater production that has an animal in it the same again. I will always be thinking about the stories you told and the incredible effort that goes into caring for those dogs or cats or whatever the animal may be. So I really appreciate you sharing your stories with us and check out the series From Wags to Riches or the book Broadway Tales.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out of what I'm sure is a busy and hectic schedule.
Yes,
Bill, this was absolutely this is what I wanted for Christmas. Was an awesome guest on the PAL podcast. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
I'm going to plug 2 more projects. We're doing 2 Broadway shows.
Please.
The revival of Gypsy, starring Audra McDonald, is open with our dogs in it, and a new play called Left on 10th with Juliana Margulies and Peter Gallagher, directed by Dia Ephron. So we have 2 shows running in New York City. If you come to Broadway, come and see these great pieces.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. So yeah, if you're in New York City for the holidays or New Year's, go ahead and check out what I'm sure will be these amazing productions, especially if Bill is involved. Because like he said, he's willing to walk, people. He's willing to walk. So
That's right.
Yeah. Thanks again so much, Bill, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Wow, he was a great interview. Great job, Ron, our producer, for booking him.
Yeah, what a big guest. And hey, I got a little note here from Bill on his way out. He wants everybody to go ahead, follow him on Instagram. He's going to be tagged in the show notes and all the reels and stuff. And he even said, hey, if we didn't get to some of your questions, he loves talking about this stuff. So go ahead and shoot him a DM if you've got your burning Broadway questions. He asked for it, so you don't even have to feel bad.
All right. Well, continuing with our star-studded cast for today's show guests, you're going to love this next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all about song and dance here. And who knew that there are dogs out there who are better dancers than Chris? We're going to hear all about this amazing performer straight from her own mouth. And I've watched some of the videos. I can't wait to pick Roni's brain. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this one. We are so excited to welcome our next guest, Roni Sagi, an internationally acclaimed dog trainer, performer, and founder of the Ketatav Dog Dancing School. Alongside her incredible Border Collie rhythm, Roni has captivated audiences worldwide, most recently as the 2024 runner-up on America's Got Talent. I told you people were getting star power this episode. Roni's unique blend of dance, training, and artistry transforms traditional dog routines into breathtaking duets, creating an emotional connection that has to be seen to believed. And I've seen the videos, folks. We're not lying. With international accolades, including the second vice champion at the OEC Championships in 2022 and top placements in 2021 and 2023, Roni has become a trailblazer in the world of canine freestyle. Roni, thank you so much for joining the Pet Sad Life podcast.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so happy.
Of course. It's an absolute pleasure. And so to jump right in, your journey from professional dance to dog training and ultimately dog dancing is obviously incredibly unique. So how did you first discover this new school of dance, this new art, and what made you realize that this was your calling, not just for yourself, but also for your dog Rhythm?
So in 2017, I was studying to be a dog trainer and to train dogs to be service dogs and therapy dogs. And one of the days when I was in the school for dog training, I encountered a video on YouTube. That video name was Sandra and Lizzie European Championship in Dog Dance. And the first thing I was like, what do you mean there's the European Championship for Dog Dance? How did I not know that before? Like, I grew up with dogs. I grew up dancing. How did I not know that I could dance with my dog before? It doesn't make sense. And immediately I was, okay, I watched the video. I started crying. It got me so emotional. Like, it was so intense to watch it, the relationship, the bond between the handler and the dog. And I just had to do it. And then I just started like trying to figure out how to do it. I was taking online courses, online lessons, and then flying to Europe to try and find out what I need to do to actually dance with my dog. And from that point, the journey started.
The rest is history. So, Roni, so speaking of figuring out how to do it, Chris and I were watching some of the videos before, and the routines that you're doing with the rhythm are so fluid, like they feel like a true duet. And I was just wondering, what's your approach to choreographing these performances, and how do you train rhythm to move so naturally with you?
So I think, first of all, the most important thing for me is that the dog will have fun. We're doing something that is meant to be a way to bond with your dog and to try and find something in common and create a common language with your dog. So if the dog's not having enough fun, you're going to see it also when you're dancing with him. And it's really important to choose tricks that he enjoys doing and choosing the moves that he feels comfortable about, and not trying to push him to do something that he's not ready to do, because it's really important that he's enjoying the process. Because a dog who is not enjoying is not a good performer also. And we have to consider that when we're building up a choreography. And then the second part of actually creating it with the music and flow, I think that's my talent, actually. Because it comes. It's just like, I'm not thinking, oh, maybe here this should come like this, and then this move, or just I hear the music, I know the dog, and I have a vision, and then it's about bringing that vision to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you say that your mission is to create the feeling of two humans dancing together, but obviously a dog is not a human. So
better.
So how do you achieve such a seamless partnership between you and rhythm, and that sense when you're watching it that they're two equal performers?
I think it's first of all about knowing the style of movement of your dog, because each dog is moving differently. Each dog has its own rhythm inside of him, and each dog moves either faster or slower, or prancing more, or maybe going a bit lower when he's walking. Or if you have a small dog, he's like more bouncy most of the time. And it's about understanding what the style of movement of your dog and trying to adjust your movement to it so that it looks like it's really harmonic together. And then once you're doing that, it's about showing the best qualities of your dog. So if your dog is a great jumper, show him jumping. And if your dog is really good in distance work, show that he can make that distance work. And after you finish choreographing for the dog, take a look at yourself. Make sure that you're happy with how you're looking in the choreography. And, it's just about teamwork.
Wow. You make it sound like anybody can learn to dance with their dog.
Anybody can learn to dance with their dog.
Did you hear that, Tulip?
That's the whole point of dog dance. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. And I had another question as you were explaining, the process of the training and making sure the dog is happy and the practice. But then you're in all these competitions and on stage and lights, camera, and action. How do you prepare rhythm for that environment?
I think there's not really like a way to prepare a dog for that. You can take a dog out, you can socialize him, you can try to train him in nervous environments, and you can try to work on his stamina, like mental stamina and also like physical stamina. And you can do your best. But at the end of the day, if Freedom would have shown me that he's not feeling comfortable on that stage, he wouldn't be there. I would never do that to a dog, not to him and not to any other dog, and also not to my students' dogs. It's really important that a dog feels comfortable wherever he is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, you teach a lot of this at Ketatov, your training school. We showed a couple clips of the website. And, you have such a wonderful way of explaining to pet parents how to bond with their dogs. So, what are some of the biggest lessons that you teach about that connection between the dance and the training and trust ultimately?
I think my first and most important motto that I'm trying to teach to people is that if your dog is not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Like, that's the most important thing to remember. And then the second thing to remember is that they don't owe us anything. Our dogs, they don't have to do it. We cannot force them into doing it. You cannot look at a dog and tell him, now dance with me, because that's not what he was meant to do. He was meant to be a dog. And, we can take their natural instincts and their natural desires and incorporate them into our work together with them and into training together and having fun together. But you have to respect your dog. And that's more important than anything. You can have a dream about dancing with a dog and your dog is not interested in it. So maybe you can teach him some tricks. Maybe you can do some sequences. Maybe you'll even be able to do a small choreography. But if your dog is not really into it, you cannot force him to do it. You have to respect what he wants. That's more important than anything else that we want.
Yeah, so true. So let's talk about Rhythm a little bit more. He's become very popular. Fans adore his model walk. Can you tell us more about Rhythm's personality off stage?
Oh my God. He's a comedian.
He's what?
This dog really, he's a comedian. He's the funniest dog in the world. He is so energetic and he's always so happy to do something together. Always like giving not like 100%, but 1,000,000% of himself to anything he does. You're like calling him in the street and he's like, what? How can I help you today? He's like all the time interested in doing something fun together. He doesn't sleep. Like he doesn't sleep if he's outside. He's great. Or if I'm not sleeping, he doesn't sleep. He needs to know that nothing is happening. Like he has like the biggest FOMO in the world. Like, worried maybe something's gonna happen and he's gonna lose.
Right.
Like he's gonna miss out on it. But he's also super cuddly. And he loves like just coming and being next to me and giving me small kisses and playing with the other dogs that I have and the rest of the pack. And he's playful and friendly and never goes into trouble with other dogs or other creatures or animals. Like he's living his best life and he's happy to do it. He's amazing. I love him. He's like the most incredible partner in the world.
Well, they say that everybody thinks they have the best dog in the world and everybody is right.
Yeah,
so it's,
definitely.
It's good to know that despite being such a big star, he's still just a Border Collie at heart and very excited about everything. But to bring the focus back onto you, Roni, this is, dance is such a joyful and uplifting art, especially for the performer. And so what are some of the most rewarding aspects of sharing your talent with your dog and sort of, what do you get out of it at the end of the day?
I think that there's the first thing that is about knowing that you were able to create a language with your dog. And, like even between people, we speak the same language and we're not always able to communicate and like explain ourselves and be clear about what we want and really come into understandings about what we're doing together in life. And then suddenly I take this creature, a dog who doesn't speak English, he doesn't speak like nothing human, he's not a human. And then we can create a language together. And that's incredible because we're creating something that was never there before. Like with each dog, it's something new. Each dog kind of like brings something new into this communication. And it's a whole other level of communicating with your best friend. And then adding to that, the fact that we're able to create art together. And, for me, that's the most amazing thing because I know how much dancing has helped me to express myself. And the last thing is we get to put smiles on people's faces all over the world, like even on the worst days. I know that if I'm just like sending like a video on Instagram or just posting something, I'm getting so many messages about how people are just going into my account just to have a smile on their face. If they're having a bad day, they're going into my account to watch a video. If they're not sure about what they want to do with their dog, they're going in there to get inspiration. If they're just feeling like they need something to make them happier, it's like we have the opportunity to make so many people around the world just a little bit happy just by watching us for 2 minutes. And how amazing is that?
Yeah.
Yes. So well said. And you are just the perfect guest for this, for our Christmas show, because it is the season of joy and connecting and bonding with your loved ones, including the furry ones. And we're definitely going to put your social handles in the show notes so people can watch you while they're relaxing over the holidays. But what do you have coming up next? What's next for you and Rhythm?
So, coming up next, it will be on March. We're going to perform together in the Heel Work to Music Freestyle International category in crafts in the UK. And that's going to be a dream coming true. And before doing America's Got Talent, I was like, I'm just going to go to that show because if he can do that show, it means he can do crafts. Yeah. So immediately after doing this show, I was like, okay, we have to go to crafts and then signing up. And it's going to be an incredible experience. We have an amazing dance that we're preparing for that. And something to inspire people all over the world, hopefully. And afterwards, just like keep traveling as much as we can together, because I made him the promise that I'm going to take him to all the nicest places in the world and dance with him in every beautiful spot that we're able to do it. So that's basically what's coming up. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a phenomenal goal. And you're such a bright star. Absolutely inspirational. So thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, folks, for those of you listening, just hop on the old YouTube or the Instagram and look Roni up and just smile and enjoy it because it's truly wonderful. But Roni, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely. And good luck at crafts.
Merry Hanukkah. Yeah,
Merry Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah and Christmas and all that good stuff.
Pets add life.
I love Rhythm.
Oh my gosh. They are crazy about each other.
It's incredible. I love the fact that he's essentially a dog superstar and then still just a border collie. Just everything he was doing on the camera in between takes and
just
stuff
a goofball.
was pure border collie, high energy, high octane, nonstop, me, you. Absolutely phenomenal. But wow. I listen, I promised a great show. And
I think we delivered.
The product of the week.
All right, it's time for a very special holiday product of the week. And I know, I said at like last episode or 2 episodes ago, I said I'm not going to really get Tiger anything. She's old or she doesn't want anything. And then I saw something. And
you did.
I saw something and I bought it. So one of the small joys that Tiger has is windowsill sitting. So I work right next to a window, and it's one of the few windows that light really pours in because of the orientation of our condo. And every now and again, she'll paw at the curtain for me to pull the curtain back for her to go sit on the windowsill and look at the outdoors and the birds and stuff. So I saw this from Tuft Paw. They call it their Cloud 9 window hammock.
And sounds comfy.
It's so basic. It just uses some suction clings, and it's got like a U shape and then a felt bottom, and it comes with what they call a floof blanket. And Tiger loves. She doesn't do beds, she's had a cat bed the entire time she's lived with us, and it's like in a pile of junk right now because she doesn't use it. But you put out like a blanket, and she's all for it. So This looks really comfy. It's suction cups, so it's not like a permanent fixture. You can move it around the house if the cat's mood changes. So the website's going to be in the show notes. I thought this will be a great little Christmas present for Tiger. She loves her window time. She loves basking. So if you've got a fellow basking cat in your life, check it out. Might be a good little Christmas gift.
That is awesome. That's a gift she's going to enjoy every single day, all year round.
She'll actually use it
every season, and she'll use it with her floof blanket.
Her floof
That's
blanket.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll be excited to hear if she's surprised and delighted when she.
I'm sure she'll be surprised. It's difficult for us to communicate, the things we're buying for her. So I'm sure she's going to appreciate it.
Yeah. So my product today is one that I figured this could be like a great little activity to do with for the family dog over the holiday break here. It is called the Dash Dog Treat Maker. And this is a special edition. It makes 8 bones at a time. And what it is it's this cute little, it looks like a waffle maker. And this one, the special edition one is white with like dog bones and paw prints all over it. And it heats up. It's got a non-stick surface, and it comes with many recipes, all healthy, very simple ingredients that you probably already have at home. So you can mix up a batch of dog biscuits, put them in your little treat maker, and I forget how many. It says how many minutes it takes here. It just takes a few minutes. Let them cool, and your dog can have some warm. And I'm sure they smell delicious too. So warm treats right out of the Dash maker. And of course if you put them in plastic and toss them in the fridge, they'll stay good for several days. So I'm thinking that yeah, and they make a smaller one too, but I just like the look of this special edition one. You can get it, a lot of retailers sell it, and I bet if you order it today, you can have it before New Year's Eve.
And who knows, maybe you start making dog biscuits, you become an overnight success, you become the next big dog treat company. You never know. That's how some of these companies started.
You're going to need to make more than 8 at a time, though.
You're going to need to make more than 8, although manufactured scarcity is a great way to get your prices
small batch
up. Yep. So
Q&As.
Time for our favorite part of the show, and a very special holiday part of the show, because for the first time in a while, we've got ourselves a voice memo. And I know what you're thinking. How do I get my voice memo played on this show? Well, it's quite simple, folks. You're going to head on over to petsadlife.org/podcast. Scroll on down to the bottom of the page. You'll see a form to submit your question, or if you are feeling as brave as Rudolph on his first flight with Santa Claus, you could record your voice and you may hear it played on this show. So first up, a voice memo from Emma in Chicago with a question for Chris and Kristen. Go ahead and play that for us, Mr. Ron.
Hey, Kristen and Chris, super confused about it's different dog training advice out there. One trainer says use treats, another says to avoid them, and then I see videos online that say something totally different. So how do I know which method is right for my dog? It's just so overwhelming. Love your show. Thank you.
Aw, thanks, Emma. What a great question. And she
Thanks
has a
for the
beautiful
question,
voice,
Emma.
doesn't she?
Yeah, she should probably take my job. But I'm going to, speaking of taking my job, I'm going to let you handle this one, Kristen.
Okay.
'Cause it's definitely much more up your alley.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it is really confusing and overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that we see conflicting advice is because dog training has really evolved really significantly over the years. And, with the more and more research we do, we get a better understanding of how dogs learn. So I think for the most part, the consensus is that positive reinforcement training is great because it strengthens the human animal bond. It's likely to create more lasting behavioral changes, and most dogs, but not all dogs, are motivated by food. which is just one form of positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement can be praise, it can be food, it can be toys. And I think, Emma, you just have to kind of know what your dogs are motivated by. If it's food, that's kind of the easy one. But you can easily over treat your dog with training treats. So you have to be careful about that too. But I think, there's just, you got to find the trainer that you feel best about and that can get the best results from your dog, or the training. Is she looking for training tips or a trainer? Let me go back to that question here.
Training tips.
Just about using, training advice.
Because of all the different noise.
Whether you're looking for a trainer or you're just training your dogs on your own, I think it can be pretty simple as knowing what they respond to and what they enjoy and what you get the best results from. And if you're looking for a trainer, you've just got to find one that has the right chemistry with your dogs. So I don't think there's any wrong way to use positive reinforcement. So that's kind of the commonality. And it's confusing because there's so many different ways to offer positive reinforcement.
Yeah,
I hope that's helpful.
Agree.
I'm clearly not a dog trainer.
Yeah,
so
well, I would
did my best on that one.
It's one of those things. It's like when you're like picking food for your dog. It's like, well, does it work?
Yeah.
Like, it is.
Yeah.
So as long as you are, treating the dog properly, we always advocate for, positive reinforcement, carrot over stick here at Pets Ad Life. If the training is sticking, then guess what? You're doing a good job.
Stick with it.
It's that simple. And if it's not working, maybe it's time to switch it up and try something else. So, Emma, thank you for being a brave soldier and sending in your voice memo. Hopefully we helped you out. And thank you for listening to the podcast. So, Kristen, I think you have a question for me over there.
I do. Yeah. And we're going to go to Portland, Oregon for this one. This is from Tyler. He says, "Hey guys, you have a terrific show." By the way, thank you so much, Tyler. So my cat Luna has suddenly stopped eating as much as she usually does. She's not sick or anything that I can tell, but I'm worried since she's always been a good eater. What could be going on? And is there anything I can do to get her appetite back?
So thanks, Tyler, for your question. And it seems like right off the bat, you brought Luna to the vet because you're saying she's not sick or anything. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to eliminate those possibilities and narrow it down to what two likely things. The first being a dental issue. Not every vet checks animals' teeth at every visit. Although if you did go in and say she's not eating, it might have been one of the first things they check. But if it's been a while, if the cat's teeth hurt, it's not going to eat because it hurts to eat. When Tiger got a little older, we switched her from dry food to wet food because her teeth hurt and she was having trouble crunching on her dry kibble. So we got her the softest pate, the most disgusting looking food in the world, just like meat slurry. She loves it though, and because she could eat it with just her tongue, basically. So if Luna is an older cat, that might be it. But also, cats, like people, their taste buds change as they get older. So if your cat may have originally only eaten the poultry flavors, maybe it's time to introduce the occasional seafood flavor, the occasional beef flavor, the occasional lamb flavor. Cats are very similar to us where they don't like to eat the same thing all the time. They like a little bit of variety. So if you're doing a wet food, perhaps it is time for a wet food variety pack. If you do dry food, maybe you buy 2 different bags and switch them off every other day. But variety is the spice of life. So perhaps that is what Luna needs. But it's good to hear that she is not sick. But if she continues to decline in her appetite, I'd bring her back to the vet. All right. Well, thank you, Tyler from Portland, Oregon, for your question. And unfortunately, Kristen, that means we are at the very end of our super special holiday Pets Ad Life extravaganza, Electric Boogaloo Part 2. What a fun episode. What a great way to do it.
That really was. Yeah, I think I'm going to get Tulip some dancing lessons.
That
Two of
sounds
us
that
together.
sounds like a good Christmas present. I'm sure Tulip would appreciate some dancing lessons. But wow, I can't believe that Christmas is already here. I hope everybody gets what they want for Christmas. I already have gotten what I wanted, which was a perfect episode of Pets at Life. That's all I've ever wanted.
You don't ask for much, Chris.
No, I really don't. I'm more of a giver to all of those in my life. So hopefully, when I'm opening presents in the next few days, I enjoy what I got. But more so, I hope everybody enjoys the things I got for them, because there's nothing quite like seeing somebody's smile light up when they rip into that wrapping paper. So I guess
so true.
time will tell. I'm usually a pretty good gift giver, but I suppose time will tell. Any special plans for Christmas?
Just spending time with my mom and her husband. We're going to have some good food, and I've got some presents I'm excited to give too. So, and then just going to really enjoy the next week, taking some time off, enjoying it. And hey, we get to come back one more time before the end of the year, Chris. And we have another special show
may be
lined
taking
up
some time
for
off
New Year's
from our
Eve.
day jobs, but Pets Out, we'll be back next week. We'll be back next week and the week after and the week after that. You're getting us every single Tuesday until they dig a grave and put me 6 feet under. I will never stop producing this show. I will never stop talking into this microphone.
Oh my gosh.
You got to deal with me for a while, folks. You see these few gray hairs right here? Just wait until it's all through the head. And I'm talking like this. And back in my day when we made this show, we had Broadway stars and dancing dogs. Not the same anymore.
Oh my God.
Well, listen, folks,
gosh.
I hope you have a very Merry Christmas or Hanukkah, which is starting soon as well, or any other holidays you may be celebrating. Be kind to your animals, and we'll see you next week for New Year's.
Bye-bye.
Pets Add Life.